I'm so thankful that He has provided what I was praying for so long. There's something about that prayer of faith and praying for something for so long, and when He comes through, that feeling of, do you know what? He's faithful. He's an amazing God. I'm so thankful today. So thankful. I know I've gone on about this driving test in this car, but I'm just so grateful today. Amen. Amen. But God answers prayers. God answers prayers today. Amen. Parables, amen. I'm trying not to, today I just want to praise God. Honestly, I'm ready for a praise break today.
And sometimes there's a reason why God delays the answers.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because maybe He's still preparing us. Maybe you're not right for that blessing that you are asking God for.
Right.
Maybe at that time, since you said you've been praying for long for the lessons, and then immediately when you got it, you were going immediately to buy the car. Maybe God didn't want you to have the car at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
You take the time, you run away.
And sometimes when God answers prayers quickly, we don't take it seriously. We take it for granted.
Right.
But now we value it so much because we know how much you really ask God for.
Yeah. That's so good. Amen. I feel the Holy Ghost today.
Oh, amen.
Oh, He's so good. He's so good.
All the time, all the time.
All the time. All the time.
Rainy weather and snowy weather.
Amen. I think we sang this the last time I was teaching, but I just feel to sing this song. I know it's part of the lesson, but hey, do you know that song that says we serve a miracle working God?
Yes.
Can we just sing that today? We serve a miracle working God. We serve a miracle working God. We serve a wonder. We serve a miracle. We serve a miracle working God. We serve a miracle working God. We serve a miracle working God. We serve a wonder. We serve a miracle. We serve a miracle working God. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. I know I've said it so much, but He's so good. He's so good all the time. Amen. So I'm going to try and stay focused today. So parables about prayer. So the next one we're going to go through is the parable of the unjust judge and the importunate widow. Okay. So this is in Luke 18 verses 1 to 3. That's Luke 18, 1 to 8. Sorry, 1 to 8. Luke 18, 1 to 8. And it says, "And He told them a parable to the effect that they ought always to pray and not lose heart. He said, in a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor respected man. And there was a widow in that city who kept coming to him and saying, 'Give me justice against my adversary.' For a while he was refused, but afterwards he said to himself, 'Though I neither fear God nor respect man, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will give her justice, so that she will not beat me down by her continual coming.' And the Lord said, 'Hear what the unrighteous judge says, and I will not God give justice to his elect, who cry to him daily and night. Will he delay long over them? I tell you, he will give justice to them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?'" So this is the parable of the unjust judge and the importunate widow. Okay. So in summary, what happens in this parable is a judge who lacks compassion repeatedly is approached by a poor widow seeking justice. So from this parable, Jesus is teaching the importance of consistency and perseverance. This is really in tie with the last parable, but he's teaching us the importance of consistency and perseverance. Okay? And when we're praying for strength against our spiritual enemies, we need to continue to pray. Often when we feel discouraged about situations, we don't want to pray. We're done praying about it. But we need to pray and not faint. Okay? Pray and not faint. even when you have setbacks in your life, what this parable is saying is keep on persevering, keep on praying, keep on being consistent in the things of God and praying. Because God's going to do it, amen? An honest cause that succeeded before an unjust judge is what happened here. So this judge had no concern for his conscience or his reputation. He had no concern for his conscience or his reputation. Okay? So verse 5, I want to draw your attention to that. It says, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will give her justice. Okay? So justice was done in this situation because she kept begging. She was consistent. She kept going. So this is telling us to be consistent in prayer. Consistent in prayer. Sister Anne, you mentioned this earlier, and I was like, we're good. Yes. Does anyone remember the phrase push? Does anyone know?
Yes,
Yes.
pray up until something happens.
Pray until something happens.
So that's the
Amen.
push.
Push. Pray until something happens. So today I want to encourage you. In this parable, pray until something happens. That's what's shown here. So in your life today, if you're going through situations that you don't know what's going to happen, pray until something happens, because God has got it in control. And often, as we were saying earlier, He won't answer at the timing that we want Him to answer. Sometimes we won't get the answer that we want, but He knows everything. He knows what we need. He knows what the ways in which He has to teach us. So pray until something happens. Amen. So, I'm just going to take a wee breather here. I feel like I've been talking for so long. Alright. So has any of these parables stood out to anyone so far? Does anyone have something to say about any of these parables we've gone through? So the next set of parables we're going to talk about is parables about the kingdom. Okay. And the first one, again, I'm not going to go through all of these. The first one about the kingdom is the wheat and the tares. So you can find this in Matthew 13:24 to 30. That's Matthew 13:24 to 30. That's the wheat and the tares. And the next one is the mustard seed. Does anyone know the parable about mustard seeds? I'm sure some of you know. Okay. Does someone want to read Matthew 13:31 to 32 for me? So it's Matthew 13:31 to 32.
Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all the seeds, but when it is grown, it is greater than the herbs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Okay. So one of the smallest seeds is the mustard seed. Okay, it's about this size. Okay. So a man sowed a mustard seed in his field, which grew into a tree so large that birds were able to nest and roost in its branches. So what this is saying is the church has a very small beginning, okay, but it has such a tremendous growth, okay, for all those who need protection and security. Okay, so say the church is going to grow. It's a tremendous growth, okay. So that's what this is meaning, okay. So growth of a mustard seed.
And then like the birds, what's the meaning of that? Like birds of the air come and nest. Like birds is what is human?
Yeah.
But it's just a mustard seed plant when it grows as a church.
Yeah.
The birds is the human, right?
Yeah.
Alright.
Right. You got it.
It came in 7 But some of the parables, when I read
Yeah.
it takes time for me to see
Yeah.
what's, like the Noah's Ark, I know
Yeah.
what's the story at the back of that, what's the meaning
think that's what makes parables so interesting, is the fact you actually have to sit and study them and actually find out the meaning. Because sometimes things are so straightforward that we get what that Bible verse says, but these parables Jesus has given, it's almost like a challenge to say, I want you to understand this. So we actually have to actively look into it to understand what it's saying. And often I find when I study something, I remember it more. So when I look into something, I understand it better and I know the meaning behind it. So Jesus is so clever in the way that he's teaching, because he knows that we're going to have to look up this to understand it.
And there's only, and I don't know, like, if anybody knows about it. If you read a chapter today, and you start it today, and that's it. And when you read it again tomorrow, there's something about it, the same chapter, it gives the same, like, more. There's more about it. Like, I thought, I've read some, like, when I read my Bible, like, the chapters, I read it this way, today, and then I started it, and then today is gone, and then tomorrow, when you read it again, it's more interesting when you read it again. It's like, there's a lot of things on it. It's not what we're talking about, like hundreds and thousands of meaning in there. It's so interesting.
There's so much to learn. There's so much to learn. There is, and I'm so thankful that we get to study the Bible. There's so many places in the world who they don't have that ability to worship as freely as we do. They don't have the ability to study it as we do. I'm so thankful that we have this opportunity. God is good.
All the time.
All the time. I love it. That's the theme for today. So the next parable about the kingdom is the leaven-hidden in the meal. You can find that in Matthew 13 to 33. That's Matthew 13 to 33. There's the fourth one is the parable about buried treasure. You can find that in Matthew 13 to 34. That's the parable about buried treasure, and that's Matthew 13 to 34. And the next one, the fifth one about the kingdom, is the pearl of great price. And that is found in Matthew 13, 45 to 46. If we could turn to there today. Matthew 13, 45 to 46. And it says, again the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in the search of fine pearls, who on finding one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. So a merchant man found a pearl so valuable that it was worth all that he had. He sold everything and bought this for one pearl of great price. So this parable is saying the pearl of great price is Jesus Christ. Okay? So in order to have Jesus, a man must lay upon the altar and surrender everything he has to him, to give up everything he has in order to serve God. Amen. The pearl of great price. God is so good, and I'm so thankful that he's given us these parables. What I want to do just now is, does anyone have any questions about anything that we've gone through today? Or any questions about homework?
Yeah, the last homework you said was what was the heading of it? The life of Christ or the name of Christ? I don't know if I put it right.
Was that the
third one?
The third one, yeah. So it was the prophecies. We awarded it. So it is.
I just want to know that because of the essay I'm doing.
So it was an outline of prophecies that Jesus fulfilled. Okay. And I gave some examples in the assignment details. It says 30 there. If you've already done it, that's fine. But if you do 20, I'm happy with that. So you just had to include the Old Testament and the New Testament references.
Yeah.
So you've got to have
the life of Christ. Are you talking about, or how you came into the world?
Yeah. So for example, you're going to do the prophecy. So the way you set it out is you've got prophecy,
Right, prophecy, right.
the Old Testament reference, and then the New Testament reference. Okay? So it's almost like you're going to have columns.
So for example, like it was saying in Isaiah 9:6, like want to ask the child about, like,
Right.
you know,
Ah,
it was prophecy in the Old Testament.
yeah.
So you have to look for the scriptures in the New Testament
Yeah.
and like submit together
Right.
that he
Yeah.
came.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So it's not like
So
an
that
essay
means the
format.
essay is right. I'm getting there.
Yeah, so it's not really an essay, it's kind of just, it's almost like, so if you imagine 3 columns, so you're going to have the basic prophecy, then you're going to have the Old Testament reference, then the New Testament reference. Yeah? Yeah. You get it?
I put it on, I wrote an essay, but it's all in scriptures. I put it like mostly scriptures
Yeah.
for proof that, you know.
Okay. Yeah, that's
I wrote
fine.
this because that's
Yeah, that's okay. That was just the way that I kind of imagined it, but if you've done it a different way, that's absolutely fine, as long as you've got the prophecy, the Old Testament and the New Testament. That's fine. So just make sure all of your homeworks that I've set for this class, the 3 that I've set, are submitted to me by the end of December. I would love you to do this before that, so you don't need to worry about it at Christmas time. Amen. But we've not got a class in December, so the next class will be in January. Amen. So that is all I have for you
only
today.
one more. That's my second one. So this one is the third one.
Have you submitted the presentation one?
That's a presentation.
Okay, that one. Okay, perfect, that's good. So I hope you all have a lovely Christmas and a happy New Year, and I will see you in
Amen.
January. Amen.
2019.
2019.
Are we going to have